And we back. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Buckets podcast, powered by Harwood Basketball. I'm your host, Musa Marathi, and today I got a special guest, my first broadcaster, Katrina Sachon. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm
Doing
so
well.
good. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. I always have a lot of athletes and basketball players, but had to step away. Had to get my first media person on.
I'm honored to be your first. I really am. This is exciting stuff right here.
So we're just gonna basically start from basically the beginning of your media journey or broadcasting journey and move into present day. You can obviously add in anything. I might not have got covered everything, but I think I got a few of the places that you've been like throughout your journey throughout.
He's done his research. Okay. All right, let's go. I'm excited.
All right. First question I just want to ask is, how did you decide you wanted to get into broadcasting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my dad got me into football at a very young age. I've been watching football for quite literally as long as I can remember. That has always been just something I did with my dad when I was really young, and I didn't really watch anything else as a kid. I just watched football, and that was my thing. And it was a hobby. Now it's a passion. I would turn it into my full time career. I So yeah, he got me started into football, and it kind of started from there.
Word. Yeah. So I know you went to jail, man, for high school, but at like what
I did.
year or what at what point did you decide to use that passion for media and broadcasting to start up your own journey for it? Oh, so could you
Yeah.
hear me?
So yeah, I could. It went out for just a second, but I can hear you. Um, yeah. So I started off. So my freshman year of high school, I started off doing. I started covering the football team, and I really started with lots of write ups. So I did a lot of writing, strengthened those writing skills. It was nothing on camera. Not I didn't see a camera at all. It was solely writing. I worked with Overtime South Carolina, and I would go to the games. And I would do write ups and whatnot. I sucked. It was my first reporting gig that I ever got. It was my first journalism gig that I ever got. I was horrible. Everybody knew I was horrible. Everybody knew that I was new to this. But everybody's got to start somewhere, and that's where I started. And then my sophomore year, um, it got cut short due to COVID, and so the
Hmm.
sports were a little weird in that whole sense. So I didn't do much my sophomore year, and then my junior year rolled around, and I think anybody who goes to regular public high school or whatnot knows that junior year is one of the hardest years, and I know it was super hard for me and really everybody to kind of just get back into the swing of things. Athletics were all over the place due to COVID, and there were a ton of COVID restrictions and protocols still going on. So I didn't get into football or basketball that year either. My senior year rolled around, and that's when I really dove back into the swing of things, back into the athletics. I was really kind of I'd say like the head of the athletics media department, sort of thing. So I covered the football and basketball team, and did a lot of their social media stuff, and that's kind of where it started off.
Okay, yeah. So how were you able to get that opportunity? Was there a class for that, or did you just do it yourself?
There wasn't ever a class for it. We had like a speech class, which I took my freshman year, but that didn't really translate over into the media sort of thing. I really just reached out to a bunch of the coaches. I think a lot of times with really any job that I've ever gotten, I'm the one that I would say almost every job that I've gotten, I reach out and you have to be able to put yourself out there. And it was nerve-wracking because nobody else was doing it. And so there's this girl who's asking to get courtside access, sideline access to every single game, to have exclusive access to players and coaches. That's nerve-wracking, and that's a lot to ask for. And coming from someone who, who knows what her background is in sports? Who knows how much she knows? And do we actually want her on the sidelines? Do we actually trust her with this stuff? And so I think it's a lot of, proving myself, which I was totally fine with doing. But it was a lot of myself taking kind of the first initiative for that sort of stuff.
No, yeah, for sure. And I even would say that for my side of things, like you obviously have a lot of players out here, but there's not many people, especially at least in the high school age, that are doing like media and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, did you have a good relationship with I don't know the football coach at Jail Man, but Coach Brazil and all them over there?
Yeah, it was definitely, I didn't know what to expect. And I think a lot of times you have to go into gigs and jobs with a very open mindset and be super duper flexible. Like I said, there wasn't anybody doing what I was doing, so there was no kind of like precedent. There was no precedent for any of this, and so that worked in my favor, but that was also kind of on the downside. What do we expect from her? And so a lot of it was kind of just figuring out, okay, what are we doing? What content are we putting out? What are we allowed to put out? What am I allowed to do? But yeah, for the most part, I attended the games and whatnot, and I was able to grab guys after the games and be able to speak to them and whatnot. So yeah.
Nice. So after you graduate from Jail Man in 2022, you
Yeah.
um you decide to, is this when you go with Hardwood Inc. for a little bit?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. I graduated. So y'all, I graduated last year. It has not been a year since I graduated, which is crazy to think about. It's wild to think about. Hardwood. You asked me about Hardwood. Yeah, so it was actually funny because I graduated on like May 31st. I walked across the stage, got my diploma. I'm walking to my graduation lunch, and I get a call from them saying, "Hey, we would love to have you work for us." And it was so crazy, the timing of everything. It's so crazy to think about. So yeah, right after I graduated high school, I jumped into Hardwood. Yeah.
How do you think that they were able to find your information and just realize you were the person they wanted?
I know they commented on one of my basketball interviews that I did, and honestly, that I remember which interview it was. It was a post game interview with the coach, and it honestly sucked. Like I said, I was not good. But everybody's got to start somewhere. So they found me via that, and then they reached out via DM, and then they got my number from a couple different sources. So that's kind of how that started.
Got you. And then just I guess put me through your journey with them. I know you were able to cover it was one tournament in June. I remember you talked to Nick Claxton, Bryce, and all them. Just like, what was your journey through Hardwood Inc. and all, and the people you got to speak to?
Yeah, so I was able to build connections and kind of build my resume just a little bit more. Like I said, this was the very beginning of my media career outside of high school. This was the very first gig or people that I ever worked with, and for that I'm forever grateful. I'm really big on recognizing who has helped me along the way. And I know that Hardwood was the very first one that ever reached out to me, that ever took that leap of faith with me and for me. So it was a lot of youth basketball, obviously, and then we kind of took not like the basketball, but just hardwood and turned it into like a media thing. So it was hardwood media. So when I went to Summer Sizzle, it was at Bob Jones University, and those were some talented guys. Those were high school guys. So Legacy was there. Certain different teams
Mm-hmm.
were there, and I made so many connections that day. And I still have people coming up to me to this day that I've never talked to, that I've personally never met. But they're like, "Hey, I saw you last year at this event," and I'm like, "I have actually no clue who you are, but cool."
Yeah.
So you know, it's it's kind of crazy how many connections I got out of that. And but yeah, I did speak to Bryce McGowan's as well as Nick Claxton. They're both really great guys. They're super sweet. They're super down to earth. Bryce especially, just because I was able to speak with him for just a little bit longer. He was taking photos with kids and whatnot. He's really great. I actually know both of his parents. We both, we follow each other on Instagram. I went out to a bunch of Coach McGowan's sessions over the summer, which we'll get to that in a second. But he obviously comes from a really great family, and I have a ton of respect for him. He was super duper patient with everything that went on, which I'm super grateful for. I also did speak to Nick Claxton. That I absolutely bombed, and I've actually that one was not pretty at all. But I think you got to take those things as learning experiences, and you can't beat yourself up over that. I've definitely had interviews that have gone sideways, or sorry, that's a really loud truck. I've definitely had interviews and events that have gone sideways, and you gotta, how do you bounce back? How do you keep moving? How do you use that as a learning experience? So definitely was able to use that as a learning experience. So yeah, so that was a pretty big one for me.
Got you, yeah. And I mean, those were your first. What were those the first professional athletes you were able to interview?
I think so. I think in the overall timeline, I think they were, yeah.
Okay, so then after that you said you went to some Coach McGowan stuff last year. So after you finished up with Hardwood, what was like the rest of your summer like?
So that was actually a lot of. So I consider, to this day still, I consider myself a freelance sports reporter, and with that, I was kind of able to just build my name and build my own brand for that sort of thing. So I was able to just come out to I went out to a bunch of McGowan's sessions. He is such a great guy. I have nothing but positive things to say about him. I love the way he coaches. I love the way he encourages his guys. I have so much respect for him. And he let me pop out to all of the training sessions. Let me tell you, they were hot. They were long. They were brutal sometimes. But you can really see his passion for that, as well as in the way he coaches up those guys. So I was able to land a ton of those gigs with him. And then during the summer, it was actually funny. It was July 4th, and we were out at a session. It was mid-afternoon. I actually had somewhere to be that night, and it started raining, and so a ton of the guys left. And so they said, "Hey, this is just one training session. We're just gonna go home. It's 4th of July. We're just gonna go home, and go wherever, do whatever." And it was pouring, and we all went to our cars, and we sat there. We sat there for like 30 minutes while it was pouring down rain. They were thinking about cutting it short. And then it started back up. I came back out, and there was a man by the name of Tyler Butler who approached me afterwards, and he said, "Hey, like I saw you come back out after the rain. I see you, walking through the muddy grass. You're still getting these interviews. You're still reporting on this. This is the kind of interviewer, reporter that we want." That's where my journey with sports and culture started.
Okay, yeah. I was actually I was gonna ask like the whole sports and culture because I like see their stuff, but I don't actually know like how it works and all that. So you were able to get that
Yeah.
in July?
So that was July. And I I love Tyler Butler. Tyler Butler is one of my favorite people in the world. He he's a really great guy. He's a really great guy. I love his entire family. His wife, his daughters. They're really great people. And I was able to. That man has connections. Let me tell you. And he set up a ton of things for me. One of the biggest events to date in my career is he set up Donovan McNabb for me. He set up an interview with Donovan McNabb. It was at the Kroc Center, and he was a former Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, probably one of the best in Philadelphia history. And I was able to get an exclusive sit down with him, and that was pretty cool. I always tell people that's probably one of my favorite ones ever that I've ever done. He's also set up tons of Zoom calls for me with ESPN and Fox and CBS. And these are guys like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I love Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. They are my favorite broadcast duo to ever be on air. But I've spoken to Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, Kirk Herbstreit, A-Rod. I mean, hello. Because of Tyler Butler. I have so much respect for him. He's a guy that I know I can call up at any point in time. He has really great advice. He also sent me to ACC Media Day, which was in July of last year, late July of last year. And that's a different story in and of itself. But yeah, he's really great.
Nice. So yeah, he was able to connect you with a lot of football connections, I assume.
Yeah. The ACC Media Day was really great. I was able to kind of just get my name out, and just kind of, again, pushing that brand at a collegiate level. It was, I mean, I was on ACC Network. Those videos and stuff, that they were on ACC Network. Were they all perfect? Absolutely not. But I was able to speak to Malik Cunningham, who was a Louisville quarterback. He was super sweet, super patient. He actually reposted my story on Instagram. Not a problem.
Nice.
I met guys like Zay Flowers, who is now with Baltimore. He was just drafted by Baltimore. I met a ton of those guys. Dabo Sweeney, guys like that. And that was all directly because of Tyler Butler.
Nice, yeah. So, after the summer ends, I just was wondering, like, how were you able to get the opportunity to help out with Christchurch's football team?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to just kind of reaching out. I did a lot of 7-on-7s during the summer. So I started off with McGowan's, and then I kind of shifted over to 7-on-7s. They're obviously more fun to watch than training and drills and footwork and whatnot. Respectfully, unless you're like actually doing the drill, nobody wants to watch an athlete go through footwork drills for 2 hours straight. That's just the fact of the matter. 7-on-7s are way more fun. They obviously it's not a lot of contact, but they're obviously way more fun. So I started off with Jailman, and because Jailman and Christchurch are like neighbors, literally, they did a lot of stuff together. There was one that I went out to. Was that like Broome? Is that Broome High School?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I went there, and I was able to kind of really speak with Hatfield. Love Hatfield. He's that man. I love that man. And then I came out to Christchurch, and Christchurch is only about 20 minutes from where I live, and so that was the first thing that I liked. Right off the bat, it was close to home, and I already really liked Coach Hatfield. And so I came out to that training the 7-on-7, and so it was Christchurch, Greenville, and one other team, and I don't remember who that was with. Actually, fun fact, it was with Hardwood. I was with Nick, and
okay.
So I went with Nick, and there were a ton of photographers that day, ton of videographers, because it was Greenville, and Mazio Bennett and Ty Brown were there, and I actually remember Nick saying, "Katrina, you need to go get a picture with Mazio and Ty." Mazio and Ty were like, I don't even think they were playing that day, but they were obviously, a big deal there. And there were a ton of people taking my photos, and apparently there are still photos that I'm seeing to this day that I didn't even see from an event last summer. So that's also something I wonder how many people have photos of me that I've never even seen before. But there were a ton of photos of me and Mazio and Ty that came out that I didn't really know of, but that was kind of the main focus of the day. Nick said go focus on them. So I wasn't even focused on Christchurch, even though it was at Carson Stadium in Christchurch. But from there, I was able to speak with a few guys there, and then I just kept going back just because it was close and I liked the coaching staff. And then I remember just sending a DM to Christchurch and being like, hey, I really enjoy the environment. I love the people here. What do you have to say on me covering your entire season? Now, if I had known the amount of success that they had, and if I had known just, the longevity of the entire situation, I know I would have been way more nervous to send that DM. But my thing was, I had nothing to lose. I had absolutely nothing to lose. I only had anything to gain. There was nothing that I was going to, lose from the situation. I said I might as well. So I sent that DM, and within a few weeks, I had a job. And that's where it started.
Nice. And yeah, they obviously were successful, winning even the state championship this year for 1A.
Oh yeah.
Who were just some of the guys you really feel like you built a connection with on that team?
They were such talented guys, but I really do like the connections that I made. I'm trying to think. I love Deshaun Reeder. He's going to be a senior this year. I actually just did an interview with him yesterday. I was out there yesterday. They got a spring game today that I'll be going to. But love Deshaun Reeder. Ryan Coley, he played on defense last year. He was a senior. I love his people. His parents are amazing. If I leave somebody out, they're going to be hurt. BJ was always such a fun guy to watch. BJ Atkins, he's so talented. Let me tell you, he's so talented. Again, I love his people. His brother's come on the come up now. I think he's playing safety this year. If I'm wrong, that's really bad. I think he's playing safety this year. But the Carson Shaw, I mean, that defense those were some dudes on defense. And then on the offensive side, Jackson Rep is really, really talented. They're just I really, really liked those guys. And then the coaching staff. I loved that coaching staff. And I always tell people that team would not have had the success that they had without that coaching staff. I have so much respect for Josh Jackson, Monty Richburg, Hatfield. Just those guys are just really, really great guys. And I have a ton of respect for all of them there.
Nice, yeah. And I heard even shout out to my guy Woods Wyndham. I know he played football for them, basketball, and he might have even gotten a soccer championship over there this year. Mm-hmm. They were saying he got Woods 6 while he was there.
Yeah, Woods is that man. He's that guy. I know you spoke with Jordan not too long ago.
Yeah.
But Christchurch was just winning state championships in every single sport. I mean, they were making the playoffs in every single sport, girls and boys. The Cavs, I know the soccer team was really successful. They're really kind of at their pinnacle right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually I had played middle school basketball with Wood, so actually that's how I know him from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so yeah, after the Christchurch, I guess I actually want to ask you one more thing about them. Do you plan on going back next year with them?
So I'm going to Erskine in the fall.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah. So because of that, I'm not going to be able to cover a lot of their games. I'm sure I'm always gonna be back there. I love them. They're like family to me at this point. It's like my second home. I'm always there. So I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to be back at some point for a few of their games, but I'm not going to be able to cover it. as extensively as I did this past fall.
Got you. And moving on to Erskine, I wanted to ask, like, so was that you decided to go to that school for, like, further your broadcasting journey, or just you felt like it was the right fit overall?
Yeah, so it was it's been a really really long process. It's something that was kind of up in the air for a while. So I actually totally forgot that I worked a ton of basketball gigs over the summer as well. I totally forgot to mention that. We were talking about football for so long, but I worked with Stellar Hoops. Wayne Davis, he's really great. He's based out of Charlotte. I've gotten a ton of basketball gigs and jobs with him, and I have a ton of respect for him.
Yeah.
So I was actually covering a basketball tournament. I think it was tournament, maybe a camp. I think it was camp actually. I was covering a basketball camp last November, and Mike Morrison, he's a coach that actually coached at Jail Man, and
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of knew him. I knew his nephew, and so I knew him from a while back. So he was there at that camp, and he said, hey, I work at Erskine. I would love to have you join our media department, which was huge. That was huge, and I was super duper excited about that, to be able to report at a collegiate level. And he said, how about this? We're gonna cover your schooling, and if you you can report for us. So I received a scholarship to go to school, and they're covering my schooling, and in return I am covering the basketball team.
Nice. Are you doing boys and girls, or just boys, or just girls?
It's looking like just boys for right now. I have no doubt that I'm going to be just around all of the sports teams and all of the athletic department. There's not too much media personnel around that area, so I have no doubt that I'm going to be at girls basketball games and whatnot. And even just as a casual fan, I love watching girls basketball. My best friend, she's a soccer and basketball player. She goes to Erskine, and she's on the basketball team. And so definitely, even if I'm not reporting there, I'm definitely going to pop out and show love and support there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's kind of there. But as of right now, I'm doing basketball. I'm doing men's basketball. So that's the details of my scholarship information and whatnot.
Got you. So no, that's dope though. I know they just got a new head coach for the boys team or the men's team as well.
They did. You're doing your research, man. Look at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Coach Peeler, he was the women's head coach, and he just flipped over to the men's side of things. That is actually breaking news right here. That's actually going to be my first sit down interview with Erskine. That's going to be our first one.
Nice.
And I think that makes sense. Head coach, new reporter coming in. I think that makes sense. So, but that is going to be the first Katrina X Erskine collab interview.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Sometime in the summer, that's going to come together. Really, really looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah. So when do you have to head over there? Do you get to head over there in like August, September, or do you have to go earlier?
I know it's not as early as the athletes. I'm on an athletic scholarship, but I'm not an athlete. I do not have an ounce of athleticism in my blood. So I know I'm not going to be there as early as the athletes, but I know I'm not going to be as late as the regular people are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So we're still trying to figure out details and just how to get acclimated in that athletic department.
Yeah. One basketball event I saw you did. It either was a while ago that you reposted, or I think it might have been recent. The Elite 60 camp that you were at.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a few weeks ago up in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was with Stellar Hoops,
Yeah.
or Wayne Davis. But yeah, that one went really well. I have a really special place in my heart for youth in sports in general. That's something that's really important to me. I think because the media business is so overpopulated, you have to find your thing. And I know myself, as just myself, that like I'm doing what I'm doing, and I know that's my brand. But I have such a, like I said, I have such a special place in my heart for youth in sports, and I think it's such an amazing environment that you can be in. But I also think that it's super important to keep it a safe environment. I know that in certain ways, sports saved me, and I know I'm not an athlete by any means, but I know that sports and athletics in general saved me, and I know that I always want to keep that a safe place for other kids and people, girls and guys that are on the come up. That's super important to me. And just I always tell people I want to be a safe place on camera. I know that a lot of people can be or are intimidated of the camera, and that's totally okay. Not everybody wants to be on camera, and that's totally okay. But I always tell people I want to be a safe place for you. I want to be somewhere you feel comfortable with, displaying your emotions and explaining, what's genuinely going through your head, those true, raw, real emotions. And I think that starts from a very young age. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And I was even gonna ask you, like, are there any, I guess, broadcasting tips or just things that you really like to follow through whenever you are on the camera with people that you're interviewing? I know you always have your pad with you, like with notes and stuff, but just
I do.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with how you kind of carry yourself on camera, and I think that's definitely been a journey for me. Just kind of figuring out what looks best for me and my body and how I look and whatnot. One of my favorite sports broadcasters of all time, her name's Erin Andrews. I talk about her all the time. I repost every single one of her things. I love her. She's one of my favorites, and I kind of really picked up a ton of tips from her: how to stand, how to present yourself. I use my hands a lot when I talk, like all the time. I'm using my hands, and so typically it's my microphone in this hand, my notebook in this hand, or my hand moving. So it's kind of just how to focus and put your camera, put positions, lighting, and everything. It's kind of you got to play it by ear until you figure out your thing, and it's situational for different events and whatnot. But I think confidence is the biggest thing, and that's something that I have struggled with in the past. Just in general, and then on camera, just kind of being comfortable with how you look, how you sound, what you're talking about, being confident in your abilities. I think is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. So.
yeah, nah, for real. And no, that definitely goes a long way. Just having confidence in order to pursue whatever you want. Because if you let, there's always gonna be doubters, of course, no matter what you're in. So just being able to mentally go through that, is definitely huge.
I think for me, it's because I love sports so much to the point where I really don't care what you think. Like, especially when I started off, like high school, everybody thought I was a joke. Nobody took me seriously, and I realized that, and I know I had to. There was no reason for anybody to take me seriously because I hadn't proven myself. But I think for me, do I get hate comments on my videos? Yes. Do I have people talk behind my back? Yes. Have I heard what people have said? Absolutely. But if I stopped at every single rude comment I got, I'm never going to make it to the NFL. I'm never going to make it to the big leagues. If LeBron stopped every single time somebody said something bad about him, he would never make it. Not everybody likes Tom Brady, but guess what? Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings. Nobody else does. Tom Brady's still the GOAT in NFL history. I mean, you're going to face criticism at all levels, and that's something that's never going to go away. So you have to be content within yourself, and that's way easier being said than done. But once you are happy and secure within who you are, that that's gonna take you a long ways in your life.
No, yeah, for sure. And that was my whole thing even when I started this, just trying to, I guess, like I even told you whenever you asked me, just trying to get the recognition for some of these guys around here. Like I feel like everybody loves being talked about. So like, Greenville, they might
Yeah.
we actually I feel like have a lot of hoopers in the area that can really play. And like you
Oh
even
yeah.
said, like just like building connections, like this whole podcast thing has given me like opportunity to talk to college guys and even just everyone in the area. I've been able to talk to guys I would have never even spoken to otherwise.
Yeah. I love that.
Um, I wanted to ask though, I feel like I might already know this, but who's your dream interviewer or your dream interview?
Dream interview. There are so many. I know that I feel like I have such cliche answers, and I'm okay with that. Tom Brady's one of the coolest people in the world. But I think my nerves would be on like 1,000. So I grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. My dad grew up close to the Pittsburgh area, so I'm a huge Troy Polamalu fan. I actually never got to see him play because I was too young, but he was a safety for Pittsburgh, and he was insane. That man was crazy on the field. Just the way he anticipated that snap count, the way he just bowled guys over. He was so fun to watch. So I think that would be a really cool one. But I really love being able to speak with like broadcasters. So like I said, I was able to speak with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I would love to be able to speak with Erin Andrews one day. She is so she always says Melissa Stark was her Michael Jordan of sports broadcasting. She is my Tom Brady. She's the GOAT in my eyes. And I think there's nobody that does sports broadcasting like her. I think she really set the precedent and really set the standard for not only women in sports broadcasting, but sports broadcasting in general. I love her. I love her style. And we'll never stop talking about her. So,
Yeah. No, that's actually crazy because that's also how I even got into my thing. I saw this guy I follow, or he talks about the NBA, but his name's Kenny Beecham, and just that was my whole I guess reason for getting into. I was like, okay, I also like talking about basketball, but how can I
yeah.
centralize this?
Yeah.
My next question, I have about like two more questions left, but you kind of already spoke on it. But like, what's your goal or end goal for this whole journey?
Yeah. I definitely the NFL. And I know. So for the longest time, I said NFL Network. But NFL Network is really focused around like breaking news type things, as well as like Aaron Rodgers signed this with the Jets for this amount of money. That's important to know, and I get that. However, I always tell people nobody rewatches breaking news. Nobody cares the exact money amount. I care about that story. I care about the story from when he left Green Bay, when he you know that whole story and his receivers and whatnot. I care about that, and I really want to kind of delve deeper into. That's why I love sports broadcasting so much. I love being able to peel back the layers of those athletes and really get into who they are as a person, um, off the field and off the court, and that's super important to me. I would love to have, like my own sports show one day, like on air, like tune in Wednesday, like 7 p.m. and watch Katrina Sachon's sports show, whatever we want to call it. I also think another really cool idea. I have so many ideas. Like I have so many ideas. But I would love to have like a Netflix show one day, and it's like a show with different episodes coming out of
Yeah.
Katrina Sachon's exclusive interview. Jamar Chase, and maybe like documentary style series. I think that would be so fun. I really want to have my own Netflix show one day, and I really want to have my own like sports show, like on air, like funded or like hosted by the NFL. I think that would be so cool.
Wow, that's tough. That's tough for sure. Um, then the last thing I want to, I feel like you kind of, I think you answered this at the beginning, but like inspiration or motivation for to just keep always pushing through?
Yeah, I think, like I said, because I love this so much, and because I love sports in general so much, that's what keeps me going. And I think when you love something so much, nothing's going to be able to deter you off of that path. Nothing's going to be able to, be a hindrance. I've, like I said, I've had my fair share of hate comments. I've had my fair share of criticism from people who are, supposedly my friends or supposedly in my circle, and that's definitely something that's hard to deal with sometimes. Just feeling like you don't have the support from people you thought you would, but you have to ultimately be doing this for yourself. You can't be doing this
Hmm.
for anybody else. You can't be like, okay, like, I'm gonna make it to the NFL. Like, an athlete can't be like, I'm gonna make it to the NFL to like prove, so and so wrong. No, you have to be doing this for yourself. You have to be in it for yourself, and that's the bottom line. And I know I want this for myself so badly that I'm willing to do anything and work so extremely hard for this. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's a great answer though. But thank you for coming on to this episode, man. I really appreciate you finding time, and I know you're always busy, but I appreciate you finding time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so like honored to be here. I know you were actually one of the first people that I ever spoke to for as far as basketball went with Hardwood. The I
Yeah,
always love speaking with you. I love your people, and so yeah, thank you so much for having me.
yeah, thank you, and best of luck in your journey to the NFL. I know you'll definitely make it there. Whether it takes 1 year or however long, I know you're always just gonna keep pushing. So just keep that same
Oh yeah,
drive, and all in due time. That's what I always say.
oh yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day, I guess.